found this beautiful guy, and he decided to propose. So which Kiddushin is the one that is valid? Im shaloi kadmu Kiddushin. If the father's Kiddushin was first, then his Kiddushin obviously take effect, and the other one doesn't. But the im shal shluchai kadmu. But if the shliach did the Kiddush first, then kadmu the Kiddush of Kiddushin, then the shliach's Kiddushin is first. But if the father was first, as if he canceled the shliach's Kiddushin, and his Kiddush takes over. What happens? And you do? We just don't know who was first. Nobody had a watch on them. Then Shneim nice thing get. Then there's a question mark here. Who she's engaged to? Both need to get. But if they agree, look, one of you guys, they both are interested, and they come to some agreement between these two potential chasanim. Echad nice and get. The echad kindness. One marries and one gives a get. The chain like when the same exact story is the other way around. The woman appoints a shliach. Isha should not l'shlucha l'kacha. He gave permission to go ahead and mekadosh me. And then she went and she found a guy and she decided to propose. Im shallah company for her first kedushin, then her kedushin, because she canceled whatever she does afterwards doesn't mean anything. And Rashi doesn't mean anything is because he canceled the shlichus. The chay doesn't mean anything is because she can't be married to two people. And once she received kedushin from one, the other one doesn't mean anything. But the im shal shlucha kadmu. Kiddushin. But the reason why we're saying cancel is because she appointed the shliach before she herself went out to find a guy. So therefore, maybe her Kiddushin is worthless because she already gave over that power, like a power of attorney, to her shliach. Find me a guy. So even the guy was 4 in the afternoon and she was 9 in the morning, but she already gave over that right to somebody else. So we're saying no. When she goes ahead and proposes, she's canceling the shlichus, which she can do, and therefore she's the solo mishatchan here. But the Shluch Kabbalah, the Shluch was first, and Kiddush of Kiddush, and then his Kiddush. We don't know who's first. The Shneim nice again. And they'd rather go ahead than Echad nice again. Now, why do you need both cases? The principle is the same. So we need both cases. Why do we need both cases? If you only do the case of the father, he knows. Generally, that the laws of Yuchsin make sure that the family is pure, good yichus, and all that. Yichus is important. Very, as we see from the Old here, how important yichus is. Yep. And we even talk about the army that we want schus avoisam. When you go fight, you need yichus is important. And therefore, if the father found another guy who has better yichus, he definitely wants to go ahead with this guy, and he's definitely canceling the shliach. He's not hedging his bets. Maybe the shliach found somebody better, because to have good yichus is not such an easy thing. If he found one, he's happy. So he definitely canceled the shliach. But Abelitza, when it comes to the woman, she is not a baki in yichus and all that kind of stuff. So maybe even though she took a kedushin for somebody and so on, she didn't really cancel the shliach. Maybe she's happy for the shliach to go ahead and see kedushin because she thinks maybe the shliach knows better than I do, and she's hedging her bets. And therefore, when she accepted Kedushin, she didn't really mean it wholeheartedly. And therefore, Kedushin is not Kedushin. That's what we would have thought. Maybe Kedushin is not Kedushin. She doesn't really know, and she's really relying on the Shliach. He just did it as a second. If that doesn't work out, I got something else here. So that's why you have to say the mission. No, same thing applies to her. If we only knew about her, I would say she's the one who has to live with the guy. So therefore, she's more particular, and she's more meticulous, checking out not yichus so much, but generally the personality, the character of the guy, and whatever else she's interested in, or what he looks like. I will either the father, he married off his daughter. You think he really cares all the details? They'll sort it out. They'll fix it up. They'll work it out. They'll go to marriage counselors. And therefore, maybe the father doesn't really cancel the shliach and so on, doesn't really care yet. And tzricha, therefore, you need to tell you both. No, if either of them accept kedushin, that means they're canceling the shliach, and only their kedushin counts. Itmar, we have an interesting argument between Rabbi Shmuel. A girl like Tana, only the father can marry her. A naira, the 6 months of a naira, the father can marry her as well. And then she becomes a begeris, 12 years and 6 months. She's now a begeris, she's an adult, and the father no longer has any rights over her. Question is that the father married her off towards the end of her nairis, and she got herself engaged and became a bagris. And the question is, whose engagement is chal? And then we'll talk more particularly when exactly this happened. The father was traveling, he was going somewhere, and he met a nice young man, and he go ahead and he decided to marry off his daughter to this particular man. And then what happened was, but she was at home, and the very same day she accepted Kedusha from somebody else. And now we realize she's an adult. Now we don't know exactly when she left her father's control. And that Rav says, the fact is now we checked her out. She's an adult. So we're going to assume that her Kiddushin counts and the father's Kiddushin are meaningless. And Shmuel says, we're not exactly sure when she became an adult. And therefore we're worried that, maybe she was an adult at the time the father's Kiddushin is the only one that counted. And maybe she was an adult, the father didn't count. So therefore, you have to get a get from both. Says the Gemara, Amos, let's understand when this happened. Within the 6 months of adolescence, between 12 and 12 and a half. Oh, name Rab Harei Begeres Lefanei. Rab said, but today she's Begeres, today she's an adult. What's it do with yesterday? But yesterday she was an adolescent. With the Bagra. She became an adult now. So what's Rab saying that no, she's an adult now, and therefore she was an adult yesterday. But yesterday she was an adolescent. We know there's a 6 month interim period between a minor and an adulthood. And by a naira she can accept Kedushin of the father, but the father can't accept Kedushin, and his was in the morning and she was in the afternoon. The father was first. Must be talking about after she became an adult. So then what's the argument? Shmuel said maybe maybe she was not a Bagera. She's very over 12 years and 6 months old, and she's a Bagera today. Of course she's a Bagera. She's an adult. Why would the father have any control? Only 6 months there. Said, you know what we're talking about? The Kodesh Bahu Yoimid the Mishlam Shisha. The very last day of the 6 months, sometime during that day, she transitions from being an adolescent to becoming an adult. The father married off in the morning, she got engaged in the afternoon. We checked her out that evening, and she's an adult. Question is, when did that happen? Did that happen this morning before the father did it, so therefore the father had no rights over her, or it happened after the father did it? And we don't know. So what do we do here? That's the machlekes Rav Shmuel. Do we say if we see something now, probably it already happened before, that kanin kan hoya, or do we say that no, there's a chazaka till now she was a naira, and now it changed when we see it, not a moment before. Says the Gemara. So what happened was Rav Amar had hey begeres of an since right now she's a begeres, and today is the day that she transitions. Midahash to begeres, but begeres. We rightfully assume she was an adult already in this morning. Shmuel says. Hashto the ISIS money. Shmuel says no. Today's the day that she transitions. The father got her married in the morning. It could very well be that the moment you saw her, she became a begeres. We don't say because she's now a begeres that we can assume that's what happened this morning, and therefore we have to be chayshish. We don't know. You need to be chayshish to both Kiddushin. Says the Gemara. Okay, Shmuel Ma'aseh mikveh. How's different mikveh? We had this mikveh before, but a different Rabbi Meir. We had Rabbi Kiva there, and here. And Rabbi Shmuel, but here we don't bring them. We just say another Mishnah. Now we learned mikveh shenimded. They measured the mikveh. A while ago it was measured with 40 saw. It was a kosher mikveh, but now they measured it and they found that it was benimtza chaser. It did not have any. It didn't contain 40 saw. And in the meantime, people went in the mikveh. They touched all kinds of taras. What happens? So the Mishnah says, "Kol taras shenasa gabel mevafreya." Any tara that happened previously. Between the last time they checked and now, Bein b'shus yachid, we know that Suffolk Tumah and Shus yachid are always machmir. Bein b'shus rabim, whether it's in a public place, and we know that a Suffolk Tumah in a Shus rabim were always mekel. We don't know Tumeus. We are going to treat it. It's not a Suffolk. 100% will say it's tummy. Why? Because since right now the mikveh only has, let's say, 39 saw, we're going to say, well, we're going to assume it happened the moment you checked it last time. It was 40. 5 minutes later. Somehow it evaporated. It now is down to 39 saw. There was a leak. It's now down to 39 saw. If you find something today, we go backwards. We say it's retrospective. Back to the last time we checked. And that's not a question. It's definitely that's how it is. So this seems to support Rav. If you found her now an adult, well, probably this morning she's an adult already. What Shmuel going to do with this Mishnah? Says the shiny husband is different. Because if you remember the story of Rabbi Kiva and Rabbi Shmuel there, there's another variable here. You're focusing on the mikveh. What about focus on the person? Why did the person go to mikveh in the first place? Because he was tamei till now. His chazaka says he was tamei, and now it's questionable. And you want to know why we say that's tamei all the time? Because we don't focus on the mikveh. We focus on the person. His chazaka was that he was tamei. And we don't know whether you were able to take him out of his tumah to retire him, and therefore we're going to say that he is tamish. The equal we can say that person was tummy till now, maybe still tummy. So the Ema will say, "Letavul, he didn't go to mikveh properly because we throw in this other variable and we focusing on that." And that chazaka says the mikveh chazaka maybe Taka says it became now you're missing 40. So it only happened now because as far as we know, there was a Torah mikveh. Well, she was Torah until the moment you found otherwise. And if by Bageris, we're going to say that she was a naira till now. She's a naira till the moment we found otherwise. Why by the mikveh we go retrospective because we're looking at the person. The question is not about mikveh, it's about the person, and the person is tummy. Says the Gemara, and we had the comparison there to a kohen working the base of Mikdash with the balmum or a floor in his yichus. Say, why are you focusing on the person? Focus on the mikveh. They say that it was a proper mikveh till now, and the consequences of the person's Torah. But don't focus on the person. Focus on the mikveh. When the mikveh is missing, you can't even focus on the mikveh. The fact that the mikveh right now has only 39 saw, so therefore we don't focus on the mikveh. Says the Gemara. So the same thing here. We see there's a bageddus in front of us, and therefore we should say that it's retrospective. Just like the mikveh we're saying it's retrospective, because you focus on the mikveh, so focus on the bageddus right now. Just like the mikveh right now, 39 saw, you're saying it happened a while ago. Right now, the girls of bageddus say it happened this morning. Yushmul. Hash to the bug. No, but the bageddus say it happened right. The transition happened right now. No, but mikveh also say because of the fact that the person was talking till now that that the mikveh became chassid right now. And just say forget about the person. The mikveh is chassid. It happened right now, and with the kosher mikveh till now, just like bageddus, you're saying it happened right now. And hasam tartilarius. So the difference is there are two things wrong. By the mikveh. Number one is the fact is right now the mikveh only has 39 saw, and number two is we're dealing with a person that was tummy till now. Because you have two reasons to be machmer, we're going to be machmer. I'm shaking a hochav by the girl chazar yusa. There's only one reyasa, and what is that? That right now she's a bageris. So the question is when that happened. Yeah. But as far as the woman's concerned, she was an ira till now, and she's supposed to change today. So there's no chazaka telling us either way. We know that today is the day that she transitions from a nair to beger. We just don't know what time it is. So don't tell me I'm asking the chazaka. It's irrelevant. We know the chazaka. It's called chazaka she'osul lishtanas. That definitely is going to change. So there's only one reisa here. That's why Shmuel says by Bageris we say it happened now. By Mikvah we say go back because you have two reasons. The Mikvah is missing and the person was from Mikvah. So the Gemara, okay. Shmuel Nami Ma'ishlim has different cases of a barrel. Very similar time we learned. Let's say you were biting this barrel. What you were doing is that you were using this. You were going to make truma somewhere else, and you can have in mind this barrel of wine. Now you have to check the wine that doesn't turn to vinegar. Vinegar is considered a different species than wine. So you have somewhere else that you're going to take truma and say, I'm having in mind this particular barrel, and you check the barrel, everything's all right, and then the truma and then a while later, a couple of weeks later, you look at it, the barrel is vinegar. The question is, the truma you gave over there for this barrel, was it a valid truma? And therefore you could drink all the content of this barrel, because if it's vinegar, the truma there doesn't help with vinegar; it only helps for wine because it's two different species. And then do you have to give truma again for this barrel? What happened was you checked it a while ago, and now you check it today. So the din is as follows: Kol Gimel Yamin, the 3 days. Machlek is the Gemara there, whether it means the last 3 days or the first 2 days. But let's say the last 3 days before it turned into vinegar, vada surely it was vinegar. It takes a while to turn to vinegar, so we can assume that the last 3 days definitely in the state of vinegar. But if you go back before the 3 days, we're not sure. Was it vinegar? Was it thing? So you have to give truma again. So first, on the one hand, the truma that you set aside, nobody can eat from it, only a kohen, because maybe it is truma. But you have to give truma again for the barrel. Now, but I mean, first we ask the question: the difference between chavis and mikveh. So why is it by mikveh we said it's definitely? We said even Rosh Hashanah, you have to everything that was coming you have to get rid of. No, it's definitely we treat it like the mikveh is missing now, was missing before. And why by the barrel we're saying it's a suffix whether it was vinegar before or not? Why don't you say the same thing as definite vinegar before? Answered, Man Tana Chavis Abshimini. The author of Chavis is actually Abshimin. The Gabi Mikvanami Sekemasher. Abshimin actually holds there's no difference in barrel of Chavis. He passes by Mikva also. We don't know for sure that it was missing all the time. He's just saying we treat it perhaps. It's a suffix. And they go, the time we learned, all the taras, the Tana Kama says, like the Mishnah we learned before, anything you did in the past by the mikveh that now is 39 saw. Even in a public space, we generally, if it's a suffix, we're lenient. Here we're going to be machmik, we treat like vade tamid. And Rab Shimon says, Rab Shimon says, no, even by mikveh, we're not sure that the mikveh was missing. It's only a suffix. And therefore, the Shus Rabim, we're very lenient. We're always saying where the taras are right. And she's you don't burn it, you just leave it in suspense. But according to Rabbanon, what would they hold a barrel? Exactly the same thing they hold by mikveh. Now what? Tebel mafreh. The Rabbanon would hold that a barrel is the same thing like by mikveh, and that we say it's retrospective. There's definitely no trum over here, and you have to give trum again. So anyway, so when it says shiny hossam, but the same question by the barrel. By the barrel, we go back in time. And yet by the begeris, you tell me that Shmuel says if now is a begeris, it happened right now. So the same question, the same discussion we had before. Over there, we can say that till now this was tevel, so we can say, let's say it's still tevel, and they didn't give truma properly. So you have two reasons: you have the tevel that didn't give truma properly, plus you find that it's vinegar now. It wasn't fixed up. But before it was wine, let's say that it was wine till the last minute. The fact is, we see that it is sour, it is vinegary. But the fact, and that's why you go retrospective. No, I see a begeris say, let's go retrospective. Hashi bugger by begeris say it happened now. No, nami hashdach we say by the vinegar as well. It just turned now into vinegar. Also, the same thing. Over here, there's two reasons why to go retrospective. First of all, it's vinegar right now. Plus, it was tevel till now. So you have two factors to say that probably it wasn't good. But in the case of begeris, there's only one thing, that she's a begeris right now. But there's no chazaka at all regarding her, because today is the day that that the chazaka that she had previously is gone. Sometime today, she is going to transition from an adolescent to an adult. And therefore, Shmuel says, I say it happened right now. Says the Gemara, it seems that Rabu says that she's a begeris now, probably she was in the morning, and therefore she's the one who's Mekudesh. And Shmuel says that it happened right now. Make me name it Tanoim. It's actually an argument of Tanoim. What's the argument of Tanoim? If somebody, let's say, writes, I'm giving my entire estate away to these other people, and then he's healthy, and he claims, I did it when I was a shchivra, I thought I was dying, so I gave it all away, but now that I'm healthy, I want it all back. Because the law is that everything he gave away is cancelled, it goes back. But they argue you were a healthy person when you gave it to us. You knew you were totally conscious, you were healthy, and therefore it's ours. So who do you believe? Me, moitzi miyad me. Who takes it out of who? Who moitzi miyadam b'loy raya? He doesn't have to prove that he was a shchiver at the time. It's his. He takes it. But the hain, because right now he's healthy. One second, and he's healthy, and he says he was a shchiver now, so we believe him. The hain ain't a mitzvah to be allowed, but they have to prove the onus of proof. If they say that he was a healthy person at the time, they need to prove that. Even Rabbi Yaakov. That's Rabbi Yaakov. In other words, even Rabbi Yaakov holds that even though right now he's a healthy person, we don't say because he's healthy now he was healthy when he gave it away. We say now he's healthy, like Shmuel. She's a begeris. Now she's a begeris. However, Rab Nosson says, anybody who, if right now he's healthy, if now he's healthy, probably was healthy yesterday as well. Just like about begeris, like Rav. He's a begeris now, probably this morning she's a begeris. So if he's healthy now, he's probably healthy. He needs to prove that when he dished out or distributed all of his assets, at the time he was a sick person. All of the Havidai he has to prove it. But if right now he's dying, then we'll assume that's what he was back then as well. And they have to prove that no, he was healthy at the time. So it seems clear from here. Name a Rav, the Omak Rab Nosson. Rav, like Rab Nosson says, if we find a situation now, we'll assume that's how it was yesterday as well. She's a begeris in the afternoon. She's probably adult in the morning. If he's sick right now, he probably was sick when he distributed his wealth. And Shmuel says, no, it happened hashta. Now it happened. Shmuel Omak Rab Yaakov. That you found that happened now. Omak Rav says, I can learn like both. I know that I by begetter that says it happened in the morning can learn like Rab Nosson that says when it comes to a healthy person, I can say that even though he's healthy right now, he could argue that I was unhealthy before. Why? I know I can even hold like Rab Yaakov. Rab Yaakov said that even though Rab Yaakov says that if Rab Yaakov says that he can Rab Yaakov said they have to prove that he's saying that now as a body proves nothing. Now that he's a body proves nothing, because we don't say that because he's now a body, he was a body yesterday. Yes, he could have been sick. According to Rav, we should have said that yes, if today he's a body, yesterday was a body. So Rav said no. I hold like Rabbi Yaakov. You know what the reason why we say that the person who distributed doesn't have to prove anything? Because at the end of the day, the money's his. And we have a rule: if you want to extract money from somebody, you have to prove otherwise. So therefore, these people, the recipients, the beneficiaries of his largesse, they have to prove that at the time he was a healthy person. He doesn't have to prove anything. Nothing to do with chazak of today. If now he's in a certain situation, that's how it was yesterday. No, could be Rabbi Yaakov agrees that if now he's a buddy, probably was a buddy yesterday as well. So the man, the donor should be proving otherwise. No, because the money is by him, even though probability he was at that time a bari as well. So whatever you give away, it doesn't matter. The fact is that it's his money. The other guys have to prove it. But over here, by the girl, you can't. There's no chazak here because today's the day of transitioning. No chazak. Shmuel says that if something happens now, we say it happened right now. I hold you like I'm Nassim, who says that if he's sick today, then he probably was sick yesterday. If he's healthy today, he's probably healthy yesterday. But Shmuel says you don't say that. Here's different. Because most people are healthy people. The majority of people are healthy. If the man says, look, I was sick yesterday, he has to prove that he was sick yesterday. So if he's healthy today, he's like most people. And you want to tell me that yesterday you were sick, you prove it. But if the girl, is she changing the rules of nature? On the contrary, the rules of nature are that she's going to change. But now we saw the change. We'll say it happened right now. Okay. The name of Kahani tonight. Maybe they're arguing the following argument tonight. Kicha avia baderech, the kicha atza be'ir. It's almost like our Mishnah. The father was Mekadosh while he was traveling, and she's Mekadosh while she was in the city. He bagetis. Turned out to be that she was an adult. Tani Chad, in one brayse we learned Hani Bageris Vanenu. Right now she's a Bageris, so therefore we'll assume she's a Bageris, and therefore we'll say that she's one of the Kiddush and the father has no Kiddushin whatsoever. And the Tani Labrayse we learned Chayshim L'Gushishnei. We're not sure. My love, one of them holds like Rab. If now she's a Bageris, probably this morning she's a Bageris. And both of them got Mekadosh the same day. Probably she's a Kiddush this morning, and therefore we're going to say that we believe the girl. And the Chad Kishmul was like Shmuel. We don't know. So you want to know. Could very well be they both hold like Shmuel. When it says that she's a Begeres, talking about where she contradicts her father. She says, look, I was ready Begeres yesterday. Or this morning. I was ready Begeres this morning. The Treasure says it's a mistake in Rashi when it says yesterday means this morning. And but she doesn't contradict her father. There's no argument here. If she contradicts her father, we believe her. If she doesn't, she's quiet, then we say it's a suffix. So don't argue if you now explain the two brises, why can't we say Rabbi Shmuel the same thing? Maybe they're not even arguing. Maybe Rabbi is talking about a case where she contradicts, therefore you believe her, and the Shmuel is about a case where she doesn't contradict, you believe him. This makes sense. Rabbi Yosef once paskin like Rav. That what? We ignore the father altogether, and she is Mekudesh whoever she proposed. The ikbit Shmuel got so angry. The Amman, he said, Kuli alma kaile bekabazuti. He said the following expression, which obviously you can see from the tone that he's very angry with Rabbi Yosef, the son of Menashe Medavel. He's passing like Rav against him. He said to him, Kuli alma, the entire world, kaile bekabazuti. The entire world has, their seichel is in very small packages. In other words, they're scared but they don't have to break the places. They're scared to paskin because they feel the halacha should be like Rab. And to be matter a question of a woman, suffix H is ish, which is the most harshest averis. They wouldn't have the guts to say the halacha like Rab. Their seichel is too small. They would shrink their seichel and say, we don't have the temerity, we don't have the places to go ahead and paskin. The high midro, and this rabbi, this one here, Rabbi Yosef, he feels that he has a big, vat over there, that he has all the seichel, and he has no problem deciding to paskin like Rab. And he's so angry. How can you pass like Rab against me in front of me? But what do we see from here? Clearly, they're arguing. They wouldn't be arguing what Shmuel all upset about. So it's clear Rab and Shmuel are arguing. These are what we're so upset about. If Rab was talking about a case where she contradicted him, Shmuel was like, but he didn't contradict him. Two different cases. Maybe it's talking about a case where she contradicted him. Amema said halach is actually like Shmuel, and Rabashi said halach is the Rav, and halach is like Rav. So Rabbi Yosef Menashe actually paskin correctly, but Shmuel was upset. So we see that they're arguing. Mishnah. Misha Matzayu v'Yishta Mizayam. We're talking about a kohen here. On a kohen, remember, he has to make sure that he married a woman. By Yisrael, we're much less, very few isurim involved. Talking about a kohen, many more things that, as we looked in the past, how far you have to be in your investigations. So somebody went out with his wife to Mizayam. And then he came back. And when he was here, he married. Obviously, he did investigations. He went overseas and he came back many years later with his wife and his children. She's much older now, but this is the same woman. These are her children. Well, the children, we'll see later, children mean they're young and they're cleaving to her, which tells us that they're holding on to her apron strings, which tells us that they're her children. Ain't sort of there'll be any proof that this is his wife because he already did his investigation, that she's a good woman, that she's no problem of her pedigree or lineage because she already checked him out. He checked her out already when they were married in the first place. The loyal abanim, no, they check out the children because the children are tagging along this woman. So everything is good. Mesa, whatever she died overseas. He came back and she said, my wife's no longer here, but the Elu Baneha, these are her children. Do we know that these are her children? You only have to bring a proof about the children. That what? That these are her children, that's enough. Because we already know the wife is a good wife because he married her in this town years ago. What about if he says, Isha Nasati Misayam, I married a woman overseas. We know nothing about her. We have no idea whether he did her homework or not. Then, and he says, this is my wife. He brings her along. This is why I married overseas. The Elu Baneh, these are her children. Maybe Raya Lisha. Here he has to bring a proof that this woman, her lineage is good, so that his children, his daughters, can marry a kohen. But then once we've established that this is his wife and she's all right, then we don't have to worry about the children because the children are tagging along. What about he says, Mesa, the woman I married overseas died, and these are her children. Then she has to bring two rayas. Isha, first of all, the woman was good and her lineage is pure. And then how do you know these are children? You need to bring evidence that these are her children so that they can marry a kohen. Otherwise, they cannot marry a kohen. The girls cannot marry a kohen. What you say, you don't need proof that these are her children. Why? Because they're tagging along, they're holding on to her. Torah about we learned. Isha Nasati Sayam, if this is what Rabbi said, if a man says, I married this woman overseas, maybe Raya ala Isha, bring proof about the woman. The ain tzarich lahaviraya alabanim. Doesn't mean proof on the children. Why? Because the children are tagging along to the mother. Now, this thing I just told you about tagging along doesn't mention in the Mishnah. How do we know that? It'll be from this brisa. Well, maybe raya, but for older children, it's not good enough to say these are her children, therefore they can marry a kohen. He needs to bring some kind of evidence these are her children. The ain tzarich lahaviraya alaktan. But for the youngsters, he doesn't need to bring any proof because we see the way they're tagging along that these are her children. We're talking about he was only married to one wife. If he was married to two women, then maybe Raya ala Isha va'alabanim alagdoyim va'alaktanim. If he was married, if he's married to two women and one of them died, and he comes back with the other wife. So he has to bring a proof, not only the wife that he brought back, but also the wife that was there. And regarding children, it doesn't help now that they're tagging along her. Maybe she's like their stepmother. Maybe that because their natural mother died, their biological mother died, and who raised them? They're overseas. This other woman, but they're not really her children. Just because they're tagging along with her doesn't prove to us that these are actually her children, because we know that there was another woman involved. There must have been other children, and therefore he has to bring proof of the children as well. Shlaki says, Shanu Ella. Actually, we'll start this tomorrow.
Okay.
Have a good day, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow, Mitzvah Shem.
So are you going away, are you?